Scaffolds are used every day in construction, providing an elevated work platform, and when used in conjunction with other scaffolds, they become support structures or platforms to store material. OSHA investigated 214 fatalities related to falls from scaffolds during a 5-year period. That's 5 years with an average of more than 40 deaths per year. In addition, falls from scaffolds can cause injuries ranging from severe sprains to broken bones and other potentially permanent disabilities. Some rules to follow are: ensure a competent person is inspecting all scaffolds daily. The competent person should check guardrails, connectors, fasteners, footings, tie-ins, and bracing. Document scaffold inspections. Scaffold tags are great ways to document those inspections. Check to see that platforms are properly constructed and the platform is fully planked. Only scaffold-grade planks shall be used. Don't stockpile materials on scaffolds. Remove all tools and leftover materials at the end of the day. Never overload scaffolds. Pile necessary materials over ledger and bearing points. Keep platforms and area near scaffold clear of debris, unneeded equipment or material, and anything else that might cause you to slip or trip. Get off the scaffold during storms or high winds and clear platforms of all ice and snow before using. Keep scaffolding components at least 10 feet away from all overhead power lines. Be sure you inspect all equipment before use and daily thereafter. Check for cracks or bent parts, connectors, bracing, guardrails, access ladders, and especially footings. Never use damaged equipment. Make sure your scaffold has top rails, mid rails, and toe boards. A scaffold must be inspected prior to each shift. When inspecting your scaffold, check for these things. Scaffold must be erected on firm footing, like smooth, strong concrete, capable of carrying 4 times the maximum intended load. Boxes, barrels, loose concrete blocks, or brick must not be used to support the structure. Consideration must be given to the weight the scaffold is to carry. It must be capable of supporting, without failure, 4 times the maximum intended load. The load includes not only the weight of the people on the scaffold, but also any supplies and equipment being used. When you reach 4 times the minimum base dimension, the scaffold must be tied off to a stable structure, such as a building wall. The planking used must be scaffold grade. The wood must be free of loose knots, splits, or other defects. Toe boards, at least 3.5 inches high, should be installed along the outer scaffold edge to prevent tools or materials from falling onto workers below. The federal OSHA standard for construction requires guardrails when a platform is 10 feet or higher, but that may vary by state. The top rail should be about 42 inches above the scaffold walking surface, with the mid-rail at about 21 inches. It should be noted that the railings must be of adequate strength to restrain someone who has started to fall. Finally, never make any changes to the scaffolding yourself. Only designated competent persons can authorize modifications. When using a rolling scaffold, it is recommended that you follow these rules. No one is allowed to ride rolling scaffolds. Rolling scaffolds shall be used on level surfaces. The height of the rolling scaffold must not exceed 4 times the minimum base dimension. Use outriggers if additional height is needed. Wheel brakes must be locked when the scaffold is not in motion. Get help when moving rolling scaffolds. Make sure that the route is clear and watch for holes and overhead obstructions. Secure or remove all loose materials and equipment before moving scaffold. Guardrails, mid-rails, and toe boards must be installed on all open sides of scaffolds 10 feet or more in height. All scaffold members must be inspected before each use. Damaged scaffold members must be removed from service immediately. Scaffolding shall be inspected by a competent person. Scaffold tags should be used by the competent person to mark scaffolds either safe or unsafe. Proper access must be provided and used for each scaffold. Suspension scaffolds have some unique requirements. Each scaffold and scaffold component must be capable of supporting its own weight, plus at least 4 times the maximum intended load without failure. Suspension ropes and lifelines used for fall protection systems should be anchored to separate anchor points on the structure. Each suspension rope must be capable of supporting at least 6 times the maximum intended load. A competent person must inspect all scaffolds and scaffold components for visible defects before use on each work shift. All workers on suspension scaffolds must use a personal fall arrest system or PFAS. As mentioned previously, the anchor points for the suspension ropes and lifelines shall be separate. All workers shall be provided with proper training, including the manufacturer's recommendations for installing and operating suspended scaffold systems and for using fall protection. Untrained personnel should never be permitted to work from any type of suspension scaffold. We hope you've enjoyed learning more about scaffolding safety. We thank you for taking the time to watch this video and hope you'll join us again for future Video Toolbox Talks. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback. Please let us know if you have any questions or comments. Thank you very much and have a safe day.